podcast with me, Cynthia Bell. Today is Wednesday, June 28, 2023, and I want to take some time out and do teachable moments about dating men and women with children. I know that school is out and a lot of kids are perhaps spending the summer or some time with their parents uh, um, from other relationships. I know that during the time when my children were small, um, I allowed them to go and spend the summer, of course, with their dad. And I've never had anything happen. I mean, there was never any drama with me. But I wanted to just go ahead and talk about dating people with children, men and women. And let me just start out by saying, tag someone, share and tag someone. We're on YouTube as well as Facebook. It's important that we talk about this particular subject. There's so many things going on in the world today, but um, the family is very important. And who would know that better than myself that I'm in a blended family? I was part. My mom married to my stepfather, and I was in a blended family. So I know how it can be. I've heard so many stories, some of them good, some of them bad, and some of them indifferent. But tonight, tag someone, share, and let's talk about dating someone, a man or woman with children. And one of the things I found out and is that are you willing to be second in the relationship? And that's a question that need to be asked when you're seeing someone that have kids. Are you prepared to be number two? Because when a man or woman have kids from a previous relationship, um, those those people have special needs in reference to their children. And oftentimes, women and men, they go into a relationship and not realizing what's really in store for them when you're seeing someone that has children, dating someone, and then perhaps going into marriage into the blended family. I'm reminded often, when I look at biblical terms, biblical time, we know the story about Jesus and Joseph and Mary. And we know that Joseph didn't impregnate Mary, but he accepted Jesus as his child. And again, a blended family. So tonight, I'm just asking that you share with someone and you tag someone. If you know someone that perhaps may be in a situation where there's difficulties, because let's be honest about it, everything is not rosy. And some people relationships perhaps is rosy. And but let's talk about it. And it's been noted that 33% of families that when they get married, they have a blended family. 33%. Okay, that's a lot. But tonight we want to talk about my introduction, dating women and men who have kids. And again, as I said before in the podcast, thank you for chiming in to as Life Turns podcast. Again, tag someone and have them just listen in. Perhaps something will be said that they can benefit from. Now, parenting is an awesome task. Having patience is an awesome task. I believe that when you're in a relationship with a person that have kids, you're almost forced to become a better person. You're almost forced to get that patience because oftentimes with those kids, situation arise and parents, moms. I can speak about a mom because I'm a mom. We love our children unconditionally, and dating someone with a child or children, You have to reckon with the idea that they love their children unconditionally. For example, you may just say you may mess up the house, or you may do something or break something. That mom, even that dad, is going to be like, okay, all right. But if you do it, you or I do it, they're going to be like, well, what's your problem? So again, we must be able to handle being number two in a relationship, because women and men that have kids, you will never be number one. Never be number one. I don't like using that word never, but from its past experience and what I see and what I hear and what I've been told, you'll never be number one. Now, we're going to talk about some pros and cons about dating people with kids. Now, if you probably see scrolling across the screen, it says here, you got to pick your battles. You got to pick your battles. You must connect with your partner's kids. And I'm speaking in the first person. Sometimes that's not always easy. But when you take a chance, you reach out and you take a chance with that child or children, to be that particular parent. Um, there's challenges, and don't let no one fool you. There are challenges. And a lot of times, when I talk to people that are dating people with kids, even married to people with kids, sometimes they're walking on eggshells because they don't want to walk too hard and they don't want to walk too light. So what do you do in between? Then of course there's always the baby mama drama. There's always the baby daddy drama. And how do we connect? How do we connect with the children of people that we date? How do we connect with them? Do we have to pick our battles? Oftentimes, I often tell people, don't get stuck in the drama. Dating someone with kids it's hard, and I'm not going to lie, it's hard. And those people that find that it's not hard, kudos to you. But it is hard. Step parenting is dealing with way more than kids. It's way more than kids. It's dealing with the other partner, the other parent, and sometimes that can be a task, and most times it's a task. Doesn't matter whether you're a Christian person, a lay person, or however. Sometimes dealing with someone else's child or children is something to be reckoned with. But I just wanted to talk briefly about some things that we can do in reference to dealing with people dealing with people who are dating children. I mean, people dealing with people who have kids. Now, dating a guy. Let's talk about the pros and the cons, and if you find yourself in one of these situations, then perhaps the information that's relayed will help you. Now, dating a guy with kids, it can be immensely rewarding. It can be a rewarding experience. It depends on your level of maturity. And oftentimes, you hear about situations happening on the news. You hear about circumstances, and you kind of ask yourself, well, how mature is this person? Are you mature enough to be in a relationship to deal with a woman or man who have children? Oftentimes, dating as a single parent means contrasting dating experience from normal. Your date night functions, alone time, changes, plans. You may plan to go out. That child becomes ill. Things have to be moved around. Things have to be changed. Sometimes that can be taxing. That's not to say that this is a bad thing, but are you flexible? How many people are flexible? I see people in relationships and uh, moms, they don't want to have that particular person parenting their kids. They don't want that particular person to talk to their kids or discipline their kids. So think about it. I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves because all the time dating doesn't always mean taking on that whole responsibility as if you were married to someone. But a blended family, a blended relationship is just what it is. It's bringing two families together. We're bringing more than one person together that have kids. Now, also, there are some benefits of dating a guy with kids because then you find out how they treat their kids. You find out how they handle their finances. Are they taking care of that child or children? Are they in a good relationship, an amicable relationship with that absent parent? Those things are important. Those are things that we look at, that we need to look at. But most of all, are they mature? Having children forces us to reassess our lifestyles. And I know better than anyone because I been married once, I'm married now twice, and I'm in a blended marriage, a blended relationship, and it does have its sides, okay? But maturity is key. And I remember when I was out there when I was dating my husband now, and we when we were dating and we got to the point where it was serious, and we had to talk with my children. I know that we talked with my children, and there was some uncertainty there. There were things that were said, and people feelings got hurt, and because that child or those children, they're really glued to that particular parent. And when they think someone else is going to come in, all things will change. And most times they do change. But you can see other sides of that person's personality when you're dating people with kids. You really do see the other side of the personality. It's hard. Oh my goodness. I would not be to sit here and say that it's not difficult. It is. Dating a guy with kids means you'll get to see him or her in a whole new light. You acting in a variety of situations that you otherwise may not see. When you are married to someone in a blended family, there's a curfew. There's situations where my daughters broke curfew, and that discipline had to come in, and it didn't feel good, but it had to be done. This can tell you a lot about whether you want to be with this person or not, how they act with your children. You can bond with the kids. There are many ways that you can bond with the kids, only if they allow you to. Oftentimes, children, especially girls, with their dad, it's hard to bond with them for whatever reason. I don't know why. Because my daughters, it took a while for them to bond with my husband. If you're the kind of person who simply adores children, that's fantastic. Okay, you have a good chance of bonding with them, and you're able to grow. But when you're dating someone with children, you're looking to grow. If you plan on sticking around in that relationship, that's why a lot of times when I was out there dating, and I didn't allow anyone to come into my space, my daughter's space, because of the uncertainty. I wanted to know, well, where is this going to go? So there's so many battles, and you have to choose the battle that's good for you in a relationship dating people with children. Your partner priorities change. You have school, you have budgeting, there's so many things that come into play. But the number one thing that I believe, are you willing to be number two? Oftentimes, we don't want to be number two, especially if you're dating a person you don't have any kids. If you don't have any kids and you're dating someone with kids, you may want to evaluate that relationship. Is that something that you're looking long range? Is that something that you want to? Are you going to be around? Are you contemplating marriage? Those are things that come into play. Dating someone with kids, and I'm saying it again, as you sit scroll, it's hard. Step parenting is dealing with way more than children. It's way more than children. It takes sometimes months and years to get connected to those children. And then you got the other parent. Sometimes there's resentment from past relationships where that particular person don't want you to be involved with no one else because they still have an attraction and they still have feelings. And sometimes kids can pick up on those things. And sometimes that create a circumstance. And that's not always healthy. And then let's talk about, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Do you value the relationship to the point where it's worth it to go with the ups and downs and around and all those things in a blended family, in dealing with someone who has children? Will there be drama? Sometimes. Sometimes there is drama because you always have that situation where that child or children be like, you're not my mom or you're not my dad. What do you do in a situation like that? Say Sally wants to go to the store and you're there with the child and you say, well, guess what, Sally, you can't go to the store right now. And the mom is not home. That child looks at you differently, way differently than as to her mom saying, Sally, you can't go. And vice versa with a man as well. You got that daughter or son, and you got that woman in that relationship who says, Bob or Bobby, you can't, no, you won't be able to go play basketball right now. You have to go at a certain time. And there's that thing come up and says, well, you can't tell me what to do. And I know this may seem very light, but it's really applicable because I've lived it. I am a product of my mom dating my stepfather and then into marriage. And it was a lot of playing against the other parent. Children do it, especially when you find out your soft spot. And oftentimes, when you're in that relationship and you're dating someone with children, they look for that little tiny hole to penetrate to cause discomfort. Not all children, but I would say some children. And I was one of those kids. Now, there's a couple of reasons. There's a lot of reasons why. Uh, a man with children will likely to be happy to engage in slow dating. Listen to this, ladies, gents. A man with children will likely be happy to engage in slow dating, meaning you have plenty of time to think about what you need and what you want. No high pressure decisions. Dating a man with kids, he's used to responsibility. If he's the kind of parent that loves his children and wants to be a good parent, he's used to responsibility and managing an household. Getting one or more children up and washed and dressed and fed, it's not always easy. Okay? Juggling a lot of things. Let's be honest. A man that really takes care of his kids is kind of interesting because you know that he is a good person or is becoming a better person. His kids will always come first. Oh, Cynthia, what you're talking about? His kids will always come first. And I know I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I said it about 3 times already. Are you able to handle being number 2? Women and men. Are you able to do that? If you're not, then leave it alone. Leave dating people with children, leave it alone because it can be taxing. It can be. Now, no matter how no matter how dashing and wonderful you are, the kids will always come first. That means you need to be understanding when your date goes into another room to call and check on the kids. You gotta check on the kids. Dating someone with kids can be a wonderful, enriching relationship. It can be. But it comes down to how mature you are. How mature you are. Essentially, you're not just dating the mom or dad. No, you're going to become part of their family structure. Whether it's a short term, a long term, even marriage. Okay, you're going to be part of that family structure. Think about it. Do you want to spend time doing that? Do you want to invest that kind of time? Those are things that we need to think about when we're dating someone with kids. Is it worth it? Be flexible. Be mature. Parenting. Parenting, let's see if I can explain it. Parenting is, whew, it's something to really think about. It's something else when you're parenting your child. But when you're parenting someone else's child, oh my goodness, that's when a lot of things come into play. And I don't mean to sound redundant, but I want to make it clear that if you are not ready, if you are not ready to engage in a relationship with a person that has children and all the responsibility that comes with it, then leave it alone. Now, most people, the age of 20, 24 and up, have children. So what do you do in that situation? I just said earlier in the conversation that 33% of people that get married, they have kids. They're wedding into a blended family. Mm, 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 mm. Always put the kids first. Now, some people would challenge me and say, well, Cynthia, I don't know about that. Well, listen, if your situation ain't broke, don't need fixing, then fine. But if you see that it can be a better relationship, a better quality of family structure, then families need to talk about responsibilities, flexibility, and functioning as a blended family without any animosity. And those absent parents that are not there have to be just as willing and mature as the people who are in the relationship. So there's no drama. The last thing a person wants in a blended family is drama with that absent parent. The parent is not there for whatever reason. Jealousy, envy, attraction, love, can't let go, doesn't matter. It can be a hindrance. So I'm talking tonight that a lot of people, this may not be significant to you. This may not be important. Okay. Now, the age that I am right now, I don't know. At the age I am right now, I would say most people, they do have children. Their children are grown. And I don't know. No, I couldn't be involved with a person that had children who were minors. I couldn't do it. And because the age I am right now is just it's too much. It's too much. And you're probably saying, well, Cynthia, well, okay then. But I know my limitations. I've raised two daughters, and I've been in a relationship where things were not always peachy. But if you're willing to stick around, if you love the person and getting to love their children unconditionally, because mom's parents love their kids unconditionally. If you're contemplating marriage, then that's something that you have to consider is the parenting of that child, the discipline of that child, the loving of that child, the behavior of that child, the resentment of that child. Okay, some animosity with that child. Okay, those are structure with that child. Those are things that need to be considered. And as Life Turns podcast, we deal with it may be simple topics, but they're topics that affect people every day. Every day you hear about uh, relationships breaking up, people getting married. They have blended family. They already have kids, and you see them. Some of them are famous. Some of them are not famous. Some of them are neighbors. Some of them are family members. But we have to be realistic and check the maturity of who we are. Because I haven't always been mature. I haven't at all, and I know that. But can you come to grips with that as an individual of running the risk of being second or perhaps third? Your ego, will our ego allow us to be that second and maybe third person? Because you have the grandparents. And as I said before, dating someone with kids can be wonderful, but it comes down to how mature you are. You're not just dating the mom and the dad. You got the grandmama, you got the grandfather, you got the uncles, the aunts, the cousins. You're becoming part of that family structure. So what do we do? What do we say? Do we say, I welcome this situation? And then what about the baby drama? Who wants to live with drama? It's very frustrating. And dealing with children, and as I said before, the beginning of As Life Turns podcast, children are now, a lot of children are going away for the summer. Some of them are staying with their mom and their dads who remarried or who are in relationships. And how do you think that's going? Will they talk about it? Yeah, when they get home and to their other parent, they'll talk about it. And then depending on what they say, that parent becomes upset, may become upset, or that parent may not. That parent may embrace their stay away for the summer or for ever how long they're going away while school is out. School is out. Kids, some of them are going to camp. Some of them are going to summer school. Some of them are involved in a lot of activities. And if you're dealing with that woman or man who has children, then you you got to deal with that too, because they can't always have that time to spend with you. Are you willing to take time and nurture that relationship to get to the next level? Are you willing to do that? You may want to ask yourself that question. But again, tag someone, share, and let them know that as Life Turn Podcast, we're talking about dating women and men with kids. Now, let's talk about dating a woman with kids. Let's talk about that. Dating a woman with kids. What to consider when dating a single mom. Recognize, number one, that it's different. Accept that her kids come first. I said that before. Take it slow. Be honest and upfront. Offer emotional support. But most of all, be trustworthy. The last thing a woman wants to deal with is a man who is not trustworthy. Because if you allow this person to come around your kids and they're not trustworthy, that is not a good thing. As I said before, stay flexible. There are times when you want to do something, or you as a couple, you can't do it because little Johnny has a recital. A little Johnny, you have to go to a PTA meeting, a basketball game, a volleyball game, a cheerleader game. Are you flexible? Can you handle that? Woo! Discipline the children. So, a few tips dating a single woman. What to consider? Let's see. If you're in the dating game, single moms will likely be in the mix. In fact, according to a research, okay, the United States has the highest rate of children living in a single parent home. I'm going to say it again. The United States has the highest rate of children living in a single parent home, especially those run by single moms. Single parenting has unique perspectives, priorities, and life experiences they bring to the table that can make them great partners. They're often capable, smart, flexible. Is that word again? Flexible. And they know what they're looking for in a relationship. They know what they're looking for in a relationship. Trustworthy, being flexible. Okay? Here's what to do when dating a single mom and taking the relationship to another level without getting overly involved too soon. Recognize that it's different. Recognize that it's different. When dating a single mom, it's important that you adjust your expectations. And oftentimes, men, our expectation. Oh yeah, you got to adjust your expectation, and that's for the woman, for the man, both. In other relationships, you may have to be able to gauge a person's feelings for the first, you be able to gauge a person's feelings for how much time, energy they're willing to put. You're gonna have to gauge that because trustworthy. If they're not looking, uh, for a something that's concrete, a relationship to move forward, to become a better person, you may want to think about that situation. You may want to think about that because is it worth your time? Is it worth your time? Is it worth the effort? Those are things that you want to think about. Is it hard dating a woman with kids? A lot of guys seem to think dating a woman with kids is difficult. Well, in a way, it's pretty challenging, but can also be rewarding. You may not you may not be here her top priority. We said that before. We said that before. And is is it worth dating us? Is it worth it? Ask yourself that question. Is dating a single parent, is it really worth, is it right for you? Because if it's not right for you, then that's something that you need to stay away from. No matter how much chemistry, listen to this. No matter how much chemistry you share, or how much you both value your relationship, there will be times when the kids will interrupt, take precedence over your relationship, and require the devoted attention of their parent. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it, men? Are you ready for it, women? Do men care about dating single moms? Do guys want to date single mothers? Do they really want to? Yes, many single moms find love. We do. I found it. Many single moms find love, companionship, and partnership with good. Listen to this, ladies. Good, successful men who respect and care for them and their children. I'm going to say that again. There are many moms find love, companionship, and partnership with good, successful men who respect and care for them and their children. That's something to think about. That's something to think about. Because when you mention the word successful can mean a lot of things. It could mean, it doesn't mean being a millionaire, trillionaire, billionaire. It means being considerate, kind, trustworthy, flexible, compassionate, but most of all, respect. You want to be in a relationship with a man or woman who respect your children. If you're in a relationship where that your partner does not respect your children, that's going to be an issue. It's going to be an issue. Yes, it's going to be an issue. And will you begin to walk on eggshells, as I said before in as Life Turns podcast, or will you tiptoe through the garden, or will you walk straight up with authority in that relationship? Because if you're willing, if your ego will allow you to be second in that relationship, that's something to be honored. And the same thing with a woman. If you're able to accept that child or children, and you can accept being number two in that relationship, that's honorable. But can your ego deal with it? And as if you can't deal with it, leave it alone. You know, some women don't want to be in a relationship with a man that has kids because that means that the man already has children. So a lot of women want to have their first child with their partner. So they don't want to deal with a man that have kids for that reason alone. And you got some men who want to have their first child with that woman and not be or have someone else's kids to have it to raise. So there are so many pros and cons in reference to dating women and men with kids. But as those things that I mentioned earlier, whew, if you don't have those qualities, leave it alone. Allow that woman or man to find a person who's going to be able to deal with number one, being able to prioritize their time, be considerate, be trustworthy, be flexible, be mature. I see in my neighborhood, I see these young girls and um these young guys, and they got children, they're pushing a stroller. They have no idea, no clue what's it all about for its parenting. And you see them with this particular person this time, and then you see them with another person next time. What happened to the person? Or what was that? The child's father? Was that the child's mother? If you can't handle it, leave it alone. No matter how great you are, how good they look, how good they smell, what kind of job they got, what kind of car they have, where they live. It is not the chemistry. If you can't deal with a person that has children and those entities that I mentioned earlier, leave it alone. Step parenting has its rewards. There's an upside and there's a downside. And I have experienced it all. I've experienced it all. But what I can say is that from the experience that I've learned is that you have to pick your battles. You have to pick them. Because if you don't pick your battles, you'll be at war at all costs, at all times. Because if there's no respect, if there's no honor, no flexibility, no priority, no discipline, no maturity, it's a waste of your time. You, for the woman and the man. Now, I'm giving this to you light tonight. I'm being light tonight. But you all, you know, and I know that baby drama exists every day. But even in my own family, it's drama with those kids and dealing with the mama and the father and the uncles and the aunts and the grandmamas and the granddaddies. But we have to stay focused. If it's something that we want to do, if it's something that we truly want to be in this particular relationship, then move forward. If you don't want to move forward, don't do it, because in the end, the child gets hurt, the partner gets hurt, and it may cause that particular child a situation. It may be a hindrance to them for their growth. Because at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, it's about growth. Who am I talking to? Cynthia. I'm talking to Cynthia too, because I still have growing to do. I have not arrived yet, but I'm willing to learn. Okay? I'm willing to learn. How many of you are willing to learn and take that chance? Okay? It's your life. It's what you want to do. And if you don't want to be entangled, or you don't want to be embedded with a woman, with children, a child, or children, then let that relationship go for the good of that child and the good of that parent. Okay? Do that. That's the best thing that you could do for a woman or man dating somebody with kids, is being respectful and being trustworthy. Every woman wants a man that's trustworthy. Every man wants a woman that's trustworthy. Because if there's no trust there, it doesn't. If there's no trust there, then it won't go anywhere. And kids pick up on that very quick. Kids and pets, yes, pets, they pick up on those things very quick. Now, women, sometimes we have to stand down. We have to stand down to move forward. Men, sometimes you have to stand down to stand tall. Well, Cynthia, what the heck are you talking about? Yeah, sometimes you have to stand down to stand tall. It goes both ways, especially when you're dating, or contemplating marriage and relationship with men and women with children. The children have enough on their plate as it is right now. They have to deal with that person, their mom and dad's partner, who doesn't understand, who don't respect them, and is not trying to, because they can't simply understand why they're number two and not number one. I've heard many women say, "Oh, oh, such and such number one." Listen, think about what you're saying. Think about what you're saying. I think a friend of mine did a podcast, and she was talking about um, women that should you feed your spouse or partner first before the kids. And that went, oh my goodness, there was a lot of comments going on, and some men was like, it doesn't matter to them, and some men was like, no, I'm first. And some women be like, no, I'm gonna take care of my kids first. But again, it depends on your maturity. It depends on your maturity. And if you're not mature enough to deal with that, leave it alone. Let it go. I don't care how fine she is, how handsome he is. Let it go. Because, as I said before, children have so much on their plate, especially in the state of Florida. Okay? In the state of Florida, there's a lot on their plate. And you never know what that particular parent or absent parent or your partner, what information that you're sending to that child mental status. Because at the beginning of the day, end of the day, it's about that child dating men and women with children. So I covered a couple of points as I did my introduction about dating men and women with children. And then we talked about the pros, we talked about the cons, we talked about 33% of families today are they're wedded to a blended family. We talked about not letting your partner, not allowing your partner to discipline your kids. We talked about being allowing to be number one because kids are number two rather because kids are number one. We talked about baby mama drama, baby daddy drama. We talked about being flexible. We talked about maturity. We talked about is it all worth it? Ask yourself that question. Is it really worth it? Okay? Because everybody wants a healthy child. We want kids with a healthy mental status. And sometimes, if they're not getting what they need at home in that relationship, it becomes a hindrance in the classroom, in their everyday lives. And that's not what we want. We want healthy children, we want healthy minded kids. We want them to grow up to be productive citizens. And believe it or not, that partner that you're dealing with, him or her, if they're not giving you those things that I listed, that being trustworthy, respecting the children, being flexible, then you know what? You're setting your children up for failure. It's real. So pick your battles. So tonight was a teachable moment, and not to judge anyone. Everyone household runs differently, but it first starts with that relationship with that parent, that man or woman who is dating somebody with children. Keep your kids healthy. Help make your kids healthy by showing them healthy relationships. Okay? Healthy relationships. So as I wrap up tonight, it has been a pleasure to talk about something that I know about because I am a product of being in a blended family. And I am in a blended family right now. Is it always easy? No. But as I check my own maturity and as I want to grow and become a better person, and I think in relationships, dating men and women, we want to become better people. Okay. So with that said, share this message with someone who may be dealing with dating a woman or man who don't have those qualities that I mentioned earlier. And if they don't have those qualities, then you know what? Ask the question: is it worth you being in that relationship? So thank you for allowing me to come into your space tonight. And I hope you share this podcast with someone. I hope you tag someone with this podcast because it's being recorded. And our kids are our future. So let's take the time out, connect with the stepchildren, connect with your partner's child, connect with their parents, connect with their uncle, connect with their grandmother, granddad, cousin, because you're creating a family structure for the benefit of your partner and the benefit of the child. So with that said, until we meet again, a second and fourth Wednesday of the month, it's been a pleasure to talk to you about dating men and women with kids, being in that blended family, allowing yourself to be number two, because the children are always number one. So I thank you and have a good evening until we meet again. Bye bye.